ביקשתי אותך, ביקשתי את אלוהים. דרשתי אותך, ביקשתי את אלוהים. בחסדך קראת בשמי אבוא קרוב. עטפת אותי בביטחון, אני לא אסור. משכני אחריך, נרוץ ותביא ידיך. משכני אחריך, נרוץ ותביא ידיך. ידיך. דרשתי אותך, ביקשתי את אלוהים. דרשתי אותך, דרשתי אותך, ביקשתי את אלוהים. בחסדך, בחסדך קראת בשמי אבוא קרוב. עטפת אותי, כן, עטפת אותי בביטחון, אני לא אסור. משכני אחריך, נרוץ ותביא אליך. משכני אחריך, נרוץ ותביא אליך. משכני אחריך, נרוץ ותביא אליך. של האחד הזה, לנו יש גישה בדמו שעושה נזבח כזה. לנו יש גישה אהבה של אהבה כזה. לנו יש גישה, לנו יש גישה, לנו יש גישה, לנו יש גישה. ביטחון של האחד הזה, לנו יש גישה אהבה של אהבה כזה. לנו יש גישה
Aloha everybody. We're so glad that you guys decided to join us today for Biblical Hebrew class. Although our Biblical Hebrew teacher is AWOL. No. He
AWOL.
No. He not that either.
Sorry.
I just got it like just now. Hi everybody. Is that
It's Aldion,
Aldion?
and Penny.
And Penny? Hey, good to see you guys. So yeah, it's just me today. Hi. Good to see you all. Noble is doing a demo job that one of his friends asked him to do kind of last minute. So he's taking care of another friend's house and tearing apart their kitchen as we speak. So I'm going to be teaching today, and it's great to see all you guys. I want to open up in prayer, and then we have a few announcements. If you hang out with us till the end of Hebrew class, we're going to have a short prayer meeting, so you can put your prayer requests in the live chat. And we have a guest here today. Kaylee is back from Big Island. Yay! She's doing our, when you guys put in the chat, Kaylee will see any questions. If you want to talk story with her, if you want to submit your prayer requests, Kaylee is manning the computer, so that's great. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Isaac's over here too. So we're all set to get started, so let's open in prayer. Dear Abba, we thank you so much for bringing us together today to do ministry for you, and we ask you have your hands on all the technology, that we can broadcast this worldwide, and we ask that you bring all of those who need to hear this message today here to our Hebrew class on Hebrew Hawaiian. And we thank you so much, Father God, for all the miracles that you've been doing in our lives and the lives of our extended Ohana. And we ask that you watch over Noble today as he's not able to make it due to another project he's got going. So please have your hands on Isaac and Kaylee as they're running the computers. And please speak through me as I'm delivering a message about Enoch today. We ask all this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay, so prayer requests, shoot them over to Kaylee in the chat. She'll make sure, if you put prayer requests like in caps, then it's more likely she'll be able to see it. And then we'll address all that near the end. I'm going to be teaching today on Enoch and the Day of Judgment. So if you have your book of Enoch, you could take that out and turn to chapter 98. You can also take out your Bibles. I have some scripture verses here, but I usually print them all and put them up on the screen so you can follow along. I will be reading a few of the extra biblicals as well. If you need the Book of Enoch and you want a paper copy, you can go to sacredwordpublishing.com, go to their bookstore. They have books 1, 2, and 3 of Enoch all together. They're really great volumes, so you can go there. And for the other books that I'm going to be reading from, you can find all of those at Sacred Word Publishing also. So it's an excellent resource. Go check out their bookstore. Also, we have the conference that's coming up in May. If you go to sacredwordpublishing.com and then click on 2023 conference, you can find all the information you need in there. It's going to be at the end of May. Our family's planning to attend, God willing, and we look forward to meeting you guys in person. All right, so I'm going to get started here. Enoch and the Day of Judgment. First, I'm going to read a passage from 2nd Baruch. If you guys have this paper copy, you can read along with me. I'm going to be starting with verse 29. It's a pretty good introduction to what we'll be talking about today. All right. Baruch has just given a prayer to the Most High God. The Most High God is very happy with his prayer. And he says, "You have prayed honestly, Baruch, and all your words have been heard, but my judgment asks for its own, and my law demands its right. For from your words I shall answer you, and from your prayer I shall speak with you. Because it is as follows, there is nothing that will be destroyed unless it acted wickedly, if it had been able to do something without remembering my goodness and accepting my long suffering. For this reason, surely you will be taken up, as I said to you before, and the time will come of which I spoke to you, and that time is appearing, which brings affliction. For it will come and pass away with enormous vehemence, and arriving in the heat of indignation, it will be turbulent. And it will be in those days that all inhabitants of earth will live with each other in peace, because they do not know that my judgment has come near. For in that time there will not be found many wise men, and there will also be not many intelligent ones. But, in addition, they who know will be silent more and more. And there will be many tidings, and not a few rumors, and the works of the phantoms will be visible, and not a few promises will be told, some idle and others affirmed. And honor will change itself into shame, and strength will be humiliated to contempt, and the strong one will be broken down, and beauty will become contemptible. And many will say to many in that time, where did the multitude of intelligence hide itself? And where did the multitude of wisdom depart? Sometimes we feel like that today. We look at people with masks on. Okay? And when one thinks about these things, jealousy will arise in those who did not think much of themselves, and passion will take hold of those who were peaceful, and many will be agitated by wrath to injure many, and they will raise armies to shed blood, and they will perish with those at the end. And it will happen in that time that a change of times will reveal itself openly for the eyes of everyone, because they polluted themselves in all those times and caused oppression, and each one walked in his own works and did not remember the law of the Mighty One. Therefore a fire will consume their thoughts, and with a flame the meditations of their kidneys will be examined. For the judge will come and will not hesitate. For each of the inhabitants of the earth knew when he acted unrighteously, and they did not know my law because of their pride. But many will surely weep at that time, more, however, because of the living ones than of the dead. And I answered and said, O Adam, what did you do to all who were born after you? And what will be said of the first Eve who obeyed the serpent, so that this whole multitude is going to corruption? And countless are those whom the fire devours. But again I shall speak before you. You, O Lord, my Lord, you know that which is in your creation. For you commanded the dust one day to produce Adam, and you knew the number of those who were born from him, and how they sinned before you, those who existed, and who did not remember you as their creator. And concerning all of those, their end will put them to shame, and your law which they transgressed will repay them on your day. But now let us cease talking about the wicked and inquire about the righteous, and I will tell about their blessedness and I shall not be silent about their glory which is kept for them. For surely as you endured much labor in the short time in which you lived in this passing world, so you will receive great light in that world which has no end. But further I ask you, O Mighty One, and I shall ask grace from him who created all things, in which shape will the living live in your day? Or how will remain their splendor which will be after that? Will they perhaps take again this present form? And will they put on the chained members which are in evil and by which evils have accomplished? Or will you perhaps change these things which have been in the world, as also the world itself? And he answered and said to me, Listen, Baruch, to this word, and write down in the memory of your heart all that you shall learn. For the earth will surely give back the dead at that time. It receives them now in order to keep them, not changing anything in their form. But as it has received them, so it will give them back. And as I have delivered them to it, so it will raise them. For then it will be necessary to show those who live that the dead are living again, and that those who went away have come back. And it will be that when they have recognized each other, those who know each other at this moment, then my judgment will be strong, and those things which have been spoken of before will come. And it will happen after this day which he appointed is over, that both the shape of those who are found to be guilty, as also the glory of those who are proved to be righteous, will be changed. For the shape of those who now act wickedly will be made more evil than it is now, so that they shall suffer torment. Also as for the glory of those who prove to be righteous on account of my law, those who possessed intelligence in their life, and those who planted the root of wisdom in their heart, their splendor will then be glorified by transformations, and the shape of their face will be changed into the light of their beauty, so that they may acquire and receive the undying world which is promised to them. Therefore, especially they who will then come will be sad, because they despise my law, and stop their ears, lest they hear wisdom and receive intelligence. When they therefore will see that those over whom they are exalted now will then be more exalted and glorified than they, then both these and those will be changed, these into the splendor of angels, and those into startling visions and horrible shapes, and they will waste away even more, for they will first see, and then they will go away to be tormented. Miracles, however, will happen at their own time to those who are saved, because of their works, and for whom the law is now a hope, and intelligence, expectation, and wisdom a trust. For they shall see that world which is invisible to them, and they will see a time which is hidden to them. And time will no longer make them older, for they will live in the heights of that world, and they will be like the angels and equal to the stars. And they will be changed into any shape which they wished, from beauty to loveliness, and from light to the splendor of glory. For the extents of paradise will be spread out for them, and to them will be shown the beauty of the majesty of the living beings under the throne, as well as all the hosts of the angels, those who are held by my word now, lest they show themselves, and those who are withheld by my command, so they may stand at their places until their coming has arrived. And the excellence of the righteous will then be greater than that of the angels, for the first will receive the last, those whom they expected, and the last, those of whom they had heard that they had gone away. For they have been saved from this world of affliction, and have put down the burden of anguishes, because of which men lost their life, and for what have those who are on the earth exchanged their soul? For once they chose for themselves that time which cannot pass away without afflictions, and they chose for themselves the time of which the end is full of lamentations and evils. And they have denied the world that does not make those who come to it older. And they have rejected the time which causes glory, so that they are not coming to the glory of which I spoke to you before. And I answered and said, How shall we forget those for whom at that time woe is preserved? And why are we again sad for those who die? Or why do we weep for those who go into that realm of death? The lamentation should be kept for the beginning of that coming torment. Let the tears be laid down for the coming of that destruction which will then come. But with the view of these things I shall also speak. And concerning the righteous ones, what will they do now? Enjoy yourself in the suffering which you suffer now. For why do you look for the decline of your enemies? Prepare your souls for that which is kept for you, and make ready your souls for the reward which is preserved for you. And when I had said this, I fell asleep. Okay. So that's
He said a lot
Baruch.
before he went to bed.
I know.
A long bedtime story.
Yeah, next would come his vision. This second Baruch is an amazing book. You guys can take a look at this. We read all this in Digital Readers Club, but there's just so much in this book. I really like to read this one. All right, so that's kind of a little introduction for my lesson today about Enoch and the Day of Judgment. You can see in this picture, there's a goat on the left side and there's a sheep on the right side, and that's what's in prophecy, that in the book of Matthew, where the Son of the Most High God will divide the sheep from the goats. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So we're going to read from 1 Enoch chapter 98, verse 1. You guys want to open your books to that? And now I swear unto you, to the wise and to the foolish, for you shall have manifold experiences on the earth. Okay, listen to these experiences, okay? He wasn't kidding. For you, men, shall put on more adornments than a woman, and colored garments more than a virgin, in royalty and in grandeur and in power, in silver and in gold and in purple, in splendor and in food, they shall be poured out as water. Okay, so Enoch is starting to talk about the elite and the wealthy and the rulers of the earth right here. So I put the crown back there. We've been to London. We've seen the crown and the scepter, the crown jewels. It's beautiful. It looks just like this. It's huge. I don't know how in the world Queen could get that on the head, but all right, that's another topic. So we just talked about this. Men shall put on more adornments than a woman. Does that sound familiar as to something that's happening right now in the media, in the schools, in the curriculum, in the medical field? We're seeing a lot of this. Okay. You notice in the back there's the word drag, so you know exactly what this is. More adornments than a woman, more colored garments than a virgin. Okay, this is one of the huge signs of the end times. All right, so that's why I kind of touch on it quite often, just because we've never lived in a time period like this, within the past several hundred years anyway, where this has been so celebrated. Like, you can see in history books that there's certain groups of people, there's certain cultures that celebrate this transition, but now it's getting more mainstream in the media. It's going to be an acceptable thing, a celebrated thing, something that all children will want to do just because of all the attention they're getting. All right, and here's another example. The Miss Universe competition is coming up. I believe it's this weekend, maybe next week, beginning of next week. And I just happened to, my friend is like, you should take a look at that. So I just happened to pull this one up, and here's the representative from the U.S. holding the U.S. flag. You can see this gorgeous NASA-inspired costume, complete with landable moon and pentagons. Okay, you see all those, it's supposed to be the moon, which we know is not landable, and you'll see all those 5-pointed stars all around the costume. They also have another secret. I've touched a little bit about this in another teaching that I did, but that's what Victoria's Secret is, that their top models, I'm not saying all of them, but the majority of the ones that have a recognizable face that's their secret, that they're male. And same with Miss Universe competitions. Okay, so this is just some more examples of what our society is going into and how we can tell that the last days is very evident that we're in now. All right, so this is just an example of some of the wealthiest world rulers. Of course, we have the red shields, you know, that family. You can see Trump up here on the top left, the popes, the Vatican's got a lot of gold. This is just like the wealthiest faces of people on earth. I am sure these people are all actors too, because if they're from the dead spirits of the Nephilim that's inhabiting their empty vessels, they love to be on stage, they love to be shown as much as possible, much publicity. So all those famous faces that you're seeing in the media are high-level Satanists. And that's in prophecy as well. Okay, so going to continue with First Enoch, this chapter 98. We're in verse 3. Therefore they shall be wanting in doctrine and wisdom, and they shall perish thereby together with their possessions, and with all their glory and their splendor, and in shame and in slaughter and in great destitution, their spirits shall be cast into the furnace of fire. Okay, so this is a lot. It kind of describes what we're going into here now. It just seems like there's not that many wise people out there. Everyone follows what the government says, not really thinking for ourselves here. Although I think there's more and more people every day that are questioning things that they wouldn't have questioned before. I know I am, that's for sure. But this kind of just gives a really good rundown of what these world leaders will be like in the last days. They're wanting in doctrine and wisdom, so no sound minds. This is prophecy. They think they're going to live forever, or for a very long time, much longer than we do because of the Nephilim DNA. And they're inhabited by these spirits, so the spirits never die. But right at the end of verse 3 here, it says, their spirits shall be cast into the furnace of fire. And here's the parable from Matthew about the wheat and the tares. I talked a little bit about this last time, but this is some pretty good pictures, I think.
Interesting.
There's a picture of the wheat before it's fully ripe, and then the tares over on the right side. You can see how they look very similar,
Yeah, they do.
but when it comes to the harvest, that's when you can recognize which one from the other one.
Ah.
Very, very similar. And that's, this whole parable, like I didn't get the depth of this parable until like the past 7 years or so that I've been going down different rabbit trails, but this parable targets the serpent seed. So before I realized that the serpent seed line didn't just start with the Canaanites, didn't just start like before the flood when men were wicked. This started with Cain, that Cain was the first son born to Eve, and Adam was not his father. So if you want to read more about that, there's a ton of books that Zen's written about those at sacredwordpublishing.com.
It's crazy that with the wheat and the tares, you can't pull out the tares before you can harvest, yeah, because then it would just damage the wheat, yeah.
Yeah, they grow like right next to each other, so yeah, they cannot be separated till harvest. But I think he used a really good example there. Of course he did, because he's the most he's a creator. So here's the chapter in Matthew chapter 13, verse 37, and this is from Yeshua. He answered and said to them, "He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man." So that's him. "The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one." Okay, how much more clear can that be? The sons of the kingdom, meaning the new kingdom that's coming to earth with Yeshua as king, the Son of the Most High God as king, and the the tares are the sons of the wicked one, meaning offspring, meaning that bloodline. "And the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels."
Oh, so when they say harvest or sow, it's basically like when you're saved by Yeshua, you become a part of the family, right? It's a blood family. So
We're grafted in.
Yeah. So when they're saying they sow the tares, it's their bloodline too. Okay.
Isn't it like super obvious once you know the truth?
Yes.
Like it's not just
So
it wasn't about just like a sticky piece of fruit, you know?
No.
Like it was about fruit of the womb, like offspring. I mean, now I think back about it, I always wondered why their sentence was like so severe to get kicked out of the garden, and then after they sinned, how come all of a sudden just then they realized they were naked? Like what does that have to do with anything to do with the fruit, you know? I mean,
Yeah, Eve basically cheated,
yeah, but
she was also manipulated.
she was innocent.
Yeah.
She was like a child. Like when they had their bright natures before, Adam and Eve were like children.
Yeah.
So she was raped.
Yeah.
Yeah, by Samael, also known as Gadrael.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of AMAs, but yeah, that's good. Very good point. Any questions that have come up, Kaylee? Nothing? Okay. All right, you guys tracking with me? I know I'm going off on some more tangents here. There's some more coming up.
My fault.
No, it's, you'll see some slides coming up where I kind of go off on a little.
Okay.
Okay, so the tares, all right, the reapers are the angels, all right. So verse 40, this is from Matthew chapter 13. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. See, isn't that perfect? Like, the tares are burned in the fire. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And I've never actually got that too when I was reading, the Gospels before. There's a lot of quotes that say, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. He has eyes to see, let him see. Okay, we all have ears, we all have eyes, except our cat has one. But we all have, we all have these things. So why is they constantly saying, he who has ears to hear, let him hear? Now I totally get it, because you cannot have ears to hear truth or eyes to see the truth unless you have the Holy Spirit working within you, the Ruach HaKodesh. So that's why, instead, it's saying that in so many words here. Every time they say he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Okay. So, speaking of people who do not have ears to hear, I'm going to go into...
Did you read the whole, all the verses?
Did I read it?
Sorry, I might have missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, I just grabbed, this isn't everybody, of course, but these are all the top 10 greatest actors, greatest people of all time. These are all goats, he was being literal when he said that separate the goats from the sheep, because only in the last days we started calling these people goats, right? I mean, 20, 30 years ago, no one would have wanted to be called a goat, who wants to be that? But all of a sudden they created this saying for these supposedly great people of all time, greatest actors, greatest athletes, the ones on the front of Time magazine, People magazine, the known faces, the famous ones. They're very similar to the famous ones listed in Genesis 6 because they have very high levels of Nephilim DNA, and that's the only reason why we know their faces.
I have a question.
Oh yes, hello.
Hey, I was on the other deal, and I don't know if we were live or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of got Twitter created because I tried to answer some questions, and I'm not that fast at typing, and I'm using an iPhone, and it gets locked up because there's so much going on.
Okay. Did you want to ask a question since you're on here now? Okay. Does it say a name for this person? Okay. All right. Well, it's great to have you here in Discord.
It's Zealot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Zealot House Music.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's good to have you on here. All right. We're going to go on to read some more of the book of Enoch. All right. This is chapter 98, verse 4. I have sworn unto you, ye sinners, as a mountain has not become a slave, and a hill does not become the handmaid of a woman, even so, sin has not been sent upon the earth, but man of himself has created it, and under a great curse shall they fall who commit it. Okay? I highlighted the part that we want to focus on here. Sin has not been sent upon the earth, but man of himself has created it. Okay, so did the Most High create sin? That's the question behind these statements here. Man of himself has created it, and under a great curse shall they fall who commit it. All right, so sin is the curse that came from the incident in the garden. And here's some scriptures that back that up. Romans chapter 5, verse 12 and 13. Therefore, just as through one man sin entered the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men because all sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. Okay, so in other words, you have to have some type of law to break in the first place, and in order to have it constitute as sin. Second Esdras talks about this too. O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. And that's Old English, but basically, Adam, what are you doing? Like, we're all your descendants. We're all stuck in the same boat because you sinned. You and Eve, my goodness. Yeah. And then there's this story. This is an excellent read. The first book of Adam and Eve. And you can get this also at Sacred Word Publishing. Chapter 5, verse 1. This tells a lot more information about the book of Genesis and what happened following the garden incident. So I highly recommend you guys read this. The first book of Adam and Eve and the second one. And they're both at Sacred Word Publishing. Okay, then Adam and Eve entered the cave and stood praying in their own tongue, unknown to us, but which they knew well. And as they prayed, Adam raised his eyes and saw the rock and the roof of the cave that covered him overhead. This prevented him from seeing either heaven or God's creatures. So he cried and beat his chest hard until he dropped and was as dead. And Eve sat crying, for she believed he was dead. Then she got up, spread her hands toward God, appealing to him for mercy and pity, and said, "O God, forgive me my sin, the sin which I committed, and don't remember it against me. For I alone caused your servant to fall from the garden into this condemned land, from light into this darkness, from the house of joy into this prison. O God, look at this your servant fallen in this manner, and bring him back to life, that he may cry and repent of his transgression, which he committed through me." So that's a huge amount of guilt right there that she's having. And Adam was just upset, just saw that they're in a cave, they lost their bright natures, they lost everything.
Their pure access to Adonai, like
Yeah.
they were in communion with him, they walked with him, like, and to lose that, I can only imagine.
And then to have these bodies that they're
Like feel weak and
Yeah.
diseased and
they're not used to that.
Ooh.
So this is chapter 14, verse 2 of the first book of Adam and Eve. But God the Lord said to Adam, "Indeed, I say to you, this darkness will pass from you every day I have determined for you, until the fulfillment of my covenant, when I will save you and bring you back again into the garden, into the house of light you long for, in which there is no darkness. I will bring you to it in the kingdom of heaven." Again said God to Adam, "All this misery that you have been made to take on yourself because of your transgression will not free you from the hand of Satan, and will not save you." So you can imagine how miserable Adam and Eve were. I mean, just in these chapters at the beginning of this account, they're trying to kill themselves so many times, throwing themselves off cliffs, trying to drown themselves in water. They're just like, they don't know what to do with their new bodies. They're just, so much guilt too. But it's good, because right here there's a fulfillment of a covenant which will save, and they can look forward to coming back into the garden. Of course, it's going to be when the new city of Jerusalem is united with the Garden of Eden that's underneath earth right now in Palawan area of the Philippines. So that'll be so cool when that city is lowered down and those two become one again.
Jeez, I'm over here trying to get to God and be more in communion with him, and to be that close and then lose it. Like, I think about that sometimes, where I'm just like, I can't imagine my life without him anymore. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is the next part. Verse 5, chapter 98 of Enoch. "And barrenness has not been given to the woman, but on account of the deeds of her own hands she dies without children. I have sworn unto you, you sinners, by the Holy Great One, that all your evil deeds are revealed in the heavens, and that none of your deeds of oppression are covered and hidden." Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So, verse 5, I struggle with this verse. It's probably the most sad verse in the entire book of Enoch for me. But I've come to terms with it, though, because of the deeds of her own hands. I always felt like, oh my goodness, how can Enoch actually be saying this about some woman that cannot have children, What did she do? She must be innocent. But let's look. This has been going on a lot longer than we thought. We're going to read in the book of Joshua, chapter 2, verse 19, about how birth control was around before the flood.
oh, great.
For in those days the sons of men began to trespass against God, and to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam, to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a draught that would render them barren, in order that they might retain their figures, and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade. Does that sound familiar, like something
Yes,
women want to have today?
Yes.
And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows, while their husbands lived, for to the barren ones only they were attached. And in the end of days and years, when Zillah became old, the Lord opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Tubal-Cain, saying, After I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty God. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Naamah, for she said, After I had withered away, have I obtained pleasure and delight. Okay, so you can see even this mindset was present way back right after creation. There's birth control immediately. Okay, and this is another passage from that we've read already going through the book of Enoch in 1 Enoch chapter 69 verse 12. This is another type of way that they use even now for birth control. And the fifth was named Kazdeha. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked murders of spirits and demons, and the murder of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away, and the murders of the soul, the bites of the serpent, and the murders which befall through the noontide heat, the son of the serpent named Taba'et. Okay, so this particular angel, this is one of the watchers, Kazdeha. Now you can see why the Most High was so upset with these fallen angels that came down and shared this knowledge. They weren't supposed to tell how women can kill their own child when it's still in their stomach. There's quite a few different tactics that the enemy has used here. And here's a few of them. I'm not going to read these or tell what they are, just for censoring purposes, but you can see these are different ways that the government has made it very convenient to sterilize people. It's what they're about, the reduced population all the time. All right, the Testament of Solomon also describes this. Testament of Solomon is an awesome read. If you're into spiritual warfare and you want to know what your enemy's like, the Testament of Solomon gives a rundown of so many different demons that Solomon was able to subdue with a ring because of his acquiring wisdom about everything on earth. So even the spiritual. I'm going to read a little bit from Testament of Solomon here, verse 57. And I adored the Lord God of Israel, and I bade another demon to present himself. And there came before me a spirit in woman's form that had a head without any limbs, and her hair was disheveled. And I said to her, Who are you? But she answered, Nay, who are you? And why do you want to hear concerning me? But as thou wouldst learn, here I stand bound before thy face. Go then into thy royal storehouses and wash thy hands. Then sit down afresh before thy tribunal and ask me questions, and thou shalt learn, O king, who I am. And I, Solomon, did as she enjoined me, and restrained myself because of the wisdom dwelling in me, in order that I might hear of her deeds and reprehend them and manifest them to men. And I sat down and said to the demon, What art thou? And she said, I am called among men Obizut. And by night I sleep not, but I go my rounds all over the world, and I visit women in childbirth. And divining the hour, I take my stand, and if I am lucky, I strangle the child. But if not, I retire to another place. For I cannot for a single night retire unsuccessful. For I am a fierce spirit, of myriad names and many shapes. And now hither, now thither I roam, and to western parts I go my rounds. But as it now is, though thou hast sealed me round with the ring of God, thou hast done nothing. I am not standing before you, and thou wilt not be able to command me, for I have no work other than the destruction of children, and making their ears to be deaf, to the working of evil to their eyes, and the binding of their mouths with a bond, the ruin of their minds, and paining of their bodies. Does that sound familiar, like any of these things would cause paining to the body? Messing up the mind, filling the body with heavy metals so it doesn't function very well. And I just found this picture. This kind of sounds like what this head demon that has no body and disheveled hair might have looked like in front of Solomon. All right. So back to 1 Enoch, verse 7, chapter 98. And do not think in your spirit, nor say in your heart that you do not know and you do not see that every sin is every day recorded in heaven in the presence of the Most High. From henceforth you know that all your oppression wherewith you oppress is written down every day till the day of your judgment. Okay, so just remember, who's writing down all the works of men? It's Enoch. And their angels are also helping out to write down the other works of the spirits, that sin in the spirit. There's so many, everything is written down. So that's why David was praying, do not remember the sins of my youth. Because in order for him to remember, it would have had to be written down somewhere. All right, these verses from the Bible go along with what we just read. Proverbs 28, verse 13. He who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. Psalm 69, verse 5. O God, you know my foolishness, and my sins are not hidden from you. Psalm 90, verse 8. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your countenance. Psalm 44, verse 20. If we had forgotten the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a foreign God, would not God search this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. He knows everything, so it doesn't make sense to try to hide anything. Adam and Eve tried to hide. They didn't get away with that. You can try to learn from them. Luke 12 is another one that backs this up. In the meantime, when an innumerable multitude of people had gathered together, so they trampled one another, he, this Yeshua, began to say to his disciples, first of all, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. For there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, nor hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have spoken in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have spoken in the ear in inner rooms will be proclaimed on the housetops. And so you know that the Pharisees are hypocrites. Hypocrites are actors. Pretty much every actor is in line with this New World Order thing and what the world government is leading everyone to do. Here's another one. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 17. For my eyes are on all their ways. They are not hidden from my face, nor is their iniquity hidden from my eyes. And first I will repay double for their iniquity and their sin, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable idols. And this is 31 verse 34. No more shall every man teach his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they all shall know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, says the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin I will remember no more. And this is again, in order for him to forget sin, there must be a record kept somewhere. So we know that's going on.
You got a question?
Yes.
What does the word taba'et mean?
Oh, that is a good one. Let me go back to that.
I didn't know how to say it. So.
No, that's okay. Trying to remember which slide that's on. I think that's over here. Yeah. Oh, there's Obizut. I'm trying to remember which one. Maybe it's in this one. This one. Here we go. The son of the serpent named Taba'et. That's a really good question. Who asked that one?
Living.
Oh, living. Thank you for asking this question that I don't know the answer to. But,
Luis, you care to chime in?
anyone that knows why this the son of the serpent named Taba'et, who might be? But yeah, great question. Wish I had more of an explanation for that one. It's interesting though that the murders which befall through the noontide heat. Every time I read this verse, I always wonder what that's talking about, because is that just because it's so super hot, like you're passing away from being overheated, or is that a name for like a virus or something? There's a lot that could be read into here. But yeah, sorry about that, Living. Okay, we're gonna go back over here. Let's see. Okay, so this is verse 9, back Enoch chapter 98, verse 9. Woe to you, you fools, for through your folly shall you perish, and you transgress against the wise, and so goodness shall not be your portion. And now know you that you are prepared for the day of destruction. Wherefore do not hope to live, you sinners, but you shall depart and die. For you know no ransom, for you are prepared for the day of the great judgment, for the day of tribulation and great shame for your spirits. Okay, what spirits is he talking about? The dead spirits of the Nephilim that are possessing the famous people that we see in the media. All right. This backs us up. Jubilees chapter 22, verse 21. For owing to the transgression of Ham, what was the transgression of Ham? Isn't it that one was? What is Ham being discussed as when Noah drank a little bit too much wine, and Ham went into his tent? Do you remember that, Isaac? Okay. Well, it says in the Genesis that Ham saw his father's nakedness. Now, if you go back into what Bible lingo is, Old English type of lingo, when you said seeing your father's nakedness also includes your mother. So basically it's saying that Ham raped his mother. I know it sounds weird, but when you see your father's nakedness, it's usually meaning that you are something sexual is going on there with a woman. So since Noah definitely wasn't a woman, his wife was. Second wife from the writings of Abraham. It's kind of an interesting study to do on the Noah's wives. Brett was talking about this during the live stream in Zen's channel a couple weeks ago about how Noah's first wife was Naamah, the good of the line of Enoch, and then I believe it says that she passed away, maybe in the writings of Abraham. I'm trying to remember where, but then Noah remarried Naamah that we read about earlier, Zillah's daughter, Naamah from the line of Cain. And she was half, because Adah and Zillah, they were from the line of Seth, but they married Lamech, who was the great-great-great-grandson of Cain. So those two lines that was the first time those two bloodlines merged. But anyway, so that's what happened with Ham. Okay. And all his seed will be destroyed from off the earth, and all the residue thereof, and none springing from him will be saved on the day of judgment. And as for all the worshippers of idols and the profane, there will be no hope for them in the land of the living. Okay, remember that part now. We're going to talk about some idols. And there will be no remembrance of them on the earth, for they will descend into Sheol, and into the place of condemnation will they go. As the children of Sodom were taken away from the earth, so will all those who worship idols be taken away. And you could say, oh, I don't worship idols. We're in like the United States. We don't have idols. Okay. Well, I found some. This is just in the city of New York alone. Got a huge idol there holding a flame. It's not even a female. Statue of Liberty is a male to female entity. Some researchers call this idol by all different names, from like Lucifer to Ashtaroth to Semiramis to so many different names for this one. Not really Lady Liberty. You can also see the bull we were talking about earlier. These are just in New York, and you can see this one down here. This is the Rockefeller one. Has the Ouroboros, the snake that's coming around to eat its own tail. There's definitely a symbol there. It looks kind of like he's on this little mountain, so that maybe could even be symbolizing Mount Hermon. It's kind of trippy. Here we have Atlas, and a lot of serpent symbology, bull symbology, gold symbology. All right. Verse 11. Woe to you, ye obstinate of heart, who work wickedness and eat blood. What does that came from?
Oh, interesting.
Although you have good things to eat and to drink and to be filled, from all the good things which Yahweh the Most High has placed in abundance on the earth, therefore you shall have no peace. Woe to you who love the deeds of unrighteousness. How do you hope for good luck unto yourselves? Know that you shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous, and they shall cut off your necks and slay you and have no mercy upon you. Wow. That's a lot going to these obstinate of heart who works wickedness and eats blood. Let's see who those guys are. Jubilees gives us an explanation here. Chapter 7, verse 27. For I see, and behold, the demons have begun their seductions against you and against your children. This is after the flood. And Noah's talking here. And now I fear on your behalf that after my death you will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that you too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheds men's blood, and whoso eats the blood of any flesh, will all be destroyed from the earth. And there will not be left any man that eats blood, or that sheds the blood of man on the earth, nor will be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven, for into Sheol will they go, and into the place of condemnation will they descend, and into the darkness of the deep will they all be removed by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you of all the blood there shall be all the days in which you have killed any beasts or cattle, or whatever flies upon the earth, and work you a good work to your souls by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. In other words, bury the dead. And ye shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves, that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus have I been commanded to testify to you and your children, together with all flesh. And suffer not the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it. For only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. So I think a lot of this is, you can kind of hear in the background, like Levitical law, or an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. This is kind of where it came from, because it says here, for only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. There's also a reference to Messiah. So, who are the people who are drinking and shedding blood? Here you go. If you recognize these people, it's because you've seen them a lot in the media. And they have to put it out there in plain sight as part of their religion, as to what they're doing, what do they do behind closed doors. They're starting to do it more and more, like right in front of the camera, though. They want to get all the children, like, so used to seeing all this that it's just going to be normal when they see it in real life. Okay, verse 13. Woe to you who rejoice in the tribulation of the righteous, for no grave shall be dug for you. Woe to you who think nothing of the words of the righteous, for you shall have no hope of life. Woe to you who write down lying and godless words, for they write down their lies, that men may hear them and act godlessly toward their neighbor. Therefore they shall have no peace, but die a sudden death. Isn't that interesting? Woe to you who write down lying and godless words, for they write down their lies, that men may hear them. That's the part we're going to talk about a little bit, because I believe it was chapter 69 in the book of Enoch. There's a list of the fallen angels, the watchers, and what each of them taught to mankind, men and women. This is Penemoi. This is how Penemoi, the fallen angel, was depicted before the flood. Uses writing to teach knowledge, for mankind to sign oaths. Legal writings, as these writings can be used against themselves, similar to the tree of knowledge in the garden. Okay, so oh, you recognize this one?
Just the word pen.
Oh, pen, isn't it? And pencil.
Pencil. That's insane.
Yeah, they like to put that in our face. You know, that's a good point, because they put this right here with the pen, and this is Penemoi. I was researching a little bit more. They say Penemoi is also known in Greek myth as Prometheus. Prometheus was the god of fire. So I think that's why Penemoi is holding some fire right there. And you can see it looks kind of creepy. There's like those two serpents coming from behind him.
Yeah.
Him or her, I'm not sure. Fallen angel. And yeah, and then it's got the bull symbology here, the horns. Serpent symbology. Building symbology in the background. But I think that this too, let me go to this next verse. Yeah, let's read this first.
Nice pen name.
It is, yeah. Pen name, or like Pendragon. There's a lot of pens in superheroes, right?
I would say,
So that
maybe.
start with the word pen?
Not really.
Not really, just pen and way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so going back to First Enoch chapter 67 verse 8, this is the rundown I was talking about when Enoch is naming all the different watchers and what they taught children of men. The fourth was named Penimoy. He taught the children of men the bitter and the sweet, and he taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. And he instructed mankind in writing with ink and paper, and thereby many sinned from eternity to eternity and until this day. For men were not created for such a purpose, to give confirmation to their good faith with pen and ink. For men were created exactly like the angels, to the intent that they should continue pure and righteous, and death, which destroys everything, could not have taken hold of them. But through this their knowledge they are perishing, and through this power it is consuming me. So I think, there's always good and bad. Like Enoch, he's the scribe of the Most High God, so he's the one, he's writing, but not all writing is evil. I just think that this is kind of a reference to like legal documents, birth certificates, where did signing your name come in?
Yeah, N.T. Living said that the legislators.
Yeah, exactly. So they can write things into law, then they can change them, modify it, and then they have, or you have to sign things, to get your own medical records, you have to like sign. It's just like saying that if you sign something, it's confirmation to your good faith that you're going to come through with something. Or like when you're taking an oath, you sign your name to everything. So this is where all that came from. Penimoe. And that is my last slide. I do have some reading I'd like to do after a short break. So Isaac's going to put on maybe a song. No? Longer commercial? Okay, we'll see you guys right after the break. Hey, Shalom, you guys. That was a short little break. I wanted to read to you guys from the Testament of Adam. This goes along with the lesson that we just had of 1 Enoch chapter 98. So I'm going to go ahead and start. This is also found at sacredwordpublishing.com in the Testaments of the Patriarchs and Prophets. The Testament of our father Adam. The first hour of the night is the praise of the demons. Isn't that a weird way to start this out? When I first read that, I was like, the praise of the what? But yeah, everything is acknowledged in this reading. All right. And at that hour, they do not injure or harm any human being. The second hour is the praise of the doves. The third hour is the praise of the fish and of fire and of all the lower depths. The fourth hour is the holy, holy, holy praise of the seraphim. And so I used to hear, before I sinned, the sound of their wings in paradise, when the seraphim would beat them to the sound of their triple praise. This is written in first person by Adam. Okay? But after I transgressed against the law, I no longer heard that sound. The fifth hour is the praise of the waters that are above the heaven. Oh, that right there tells us that we do not live on a spinning globe. And so I, together with the angels, used to hear the sound of mighty waves, a sign which would prompt them to lift a hymn of praise to the Creator. The sixth hour is the construction of clouds, and of the great fear which comes in the middle of the night. The seventh hour is viewing of their powers while the waters are asleep. And at that hour the waters can be taken up, and the priest of God mixes them with consecrated oil, and anoints those who are afflicted, and they rest. The eighth hour is the sprouting up of the grass of the earth while the dew descends from heaven. The ninth hour is the praise of the cherubim. The 10th hour is the praise of human beings, and the gate of heaven is opened, through which the prayers of all living things enter, and they worship and depart. And at that hour, whatever a man will ask of God is given to him, when the seraphim and the roosters beat their wings. This all just sounds really amazing, how the Most High ordered all this. Okay. The 11th hour, there is joy in all the earth when the sun rises from paradise and shines forth upon creation. The 12th hour is the waiting for incense, and silence is imposed on all the ranks of fire and wind until all the priests burn incense to his divinity. And at that time all the heavenly powers are dismissed. The end of the hours of the night. And the next chapter 2 is the hours of the day. I thought this is such a cool reading. Okay. Get this over a minute. The hours of the day. The first hour of the day is the petition of the heavenly ones. The second hour is the prayer of the angels. The third hour is the praise of the birds. The fourth hour is the praise of the beasts. Okay, where did I just go here? The fifth hour is the praise which is above heaven. The sixth hour is the praise of the cherubim who plead against the iniquity of our human nature. The seventh hour is the entry and exit from the presence of God, when the prayers of all living things enter, and they worship and depart. The eighth hour is the praise of fire and of the waters. The ninth hour is the entreaty of those angels who stand before the throne of majesty. The 10th hour is the visitation of the waters, when the Spirit descends and broods upon the waters and upon the fountains. That's like the Ruach in the Genesis chapter 1. And if the Spirit of the Lord did not descend and brood upon the waters and upon the fountains, that's like the rivers of Eden that we know now as the deep underwater ocean trenches, human beings would be injured, and everyone the demons saw they would injure. And at that hour the waters are taken up, and the priest of God mixes them with consecrated oil, and anoints those who are afflicted. They are restored and healed. The 11th hour is the exaltation and joy of the righteous. The 12th hour, the hour of the evening, is the entreaty of human beings for the gracious will of God, the Lord of all. This section is called the prophecy. Adam said to Seth, his son, "You have heard, my son, that God is going to come into the world after a long time. He will be conceived of a virgin and put on a body, be born like a human being, and grow up as a child. He will perform signs and wonders on the earth, and will walk on the waves of the sea. He will rebuke the winds, and they will be silenced. He will motion to the waves, and they will stand still. He will open the eyes of the blind and cleanse the lepers. He will cause the deaf to hear and the mute to speak. He will straighten the hunchback, strengthen the paralyzed, find the lost, drive out evil spirits, and cast out demons." He spoke to me about this in paradise after I picked some of the fruit in which death was hiding. "Adam, Adam, do not fear. You wanted to be a god. I will make you a god, not right now, but after a space of many years. I am consigning you to death, and the maggot and the worm will eat your body." And I answered and said to him, "Why, my Lord?" And he said to me, "Because you listened to the words of the serpent. You and your posterity will be food for the serpent. But after a short time there will be mercy on you, because you were created in my image, and I will not leave you to waste away in Sheol. For your sake I will be born of the Virgin Mary. For your sake I will taste death and enter the house of the dead. For your sake I will make a new heaven, and I will be established over your posterity. And after 3 days, while I'm in the tomb, I will raise up the body I received from you, and I will set you at the right hand of my divinity, and I will make you a god just like you wanted. And I will receive favor from God. I will restore to you and to your posterity that which is the justice of heaven. You have heard, my son Seth, that a flood is coming, and will wash the whole earth because of the daughters of Cain, your brother. There they are. Who killed your brother Abel out of passion for your sister, since sins had been created through your mother Eve. And after the flood there will be 6,000 years left to form the world, and then its end will come. And I, Seth, wrote this testament, and my father died, and they buried him at the east of paradise, opposite the first city built on the earth, which was named after Enoch. And Adam was borne to his grave by the angels and powers of heaven, because he had been created in the image of God. And the sun and the moon were darkened. There was a thick darkness for 7 days. And we sealed the testament. We put it in the cave of treasures with the offerings Adam had taken out of paradise, gold and myrrh and frankincense. And the sons of kings, the Magi, will come and get them, and they will take them to the Son of God, to Bethlehem of Judea, to the cave. And this is the end of the testament of our father Adam. But that's cool. Kind of ties in with Adam had those same three things: the gold, the incense, and the myrrh. And that's exactly what the land of Ophir, or Havilah, the land of Adam and Eve's creation, where they were created outside the garden. And that's exactly what it's known for, having the best incense from the Pili tree on earth, and also for having the most unmined gold in its entire country of the Philippines. But like we call it Ophir or Havilah.
What about the myrrh? What's myrrh?
The myrrh, it's from the Pili tree also.
Oh.
It's used as an antidepressant. It's myrrh. Isn't that kind of cool?
That's cool.
Yeah. So like, and it's, the incense was used for embalming. So that was kind of like a prophecy toward the Messiah's death, that they would bring him, something to do embalming. Okay, so that's the end of that reading. I have one more I would like to read to you guys before we end here. And this is from my beat up book, The Genesis 6 Conspiracy by Gary Wayne. He's going to be one of the speakers at the conference coming up in May. Yay! So I'm going to read chapter 73. Pretty short chapter in his book. This also goes into what we've been talking about with Judgment Day, with the spirits of the Nephilim. Who are the world leaders right now that Enoch is talking about, that they live so comfortably and they share and show off their wealth to everybody, and there's a bunch of different names for them and their secret societies. This one is called Secret Societies and the New Age of Atlantis. Gary starts out with this verse from 1 Timothy 4. In later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Such teachings come through hypocritical liars, whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. They forbid people to marry, and they order them to abstain from certain foods. Okay. The most important political organization spawned by the banking cartel and the globalist forces, according to Gary Kah, is the Council on Foreign Relations, that's known as the CFR. Who created the CFR? What makes it so powerful? And what is its hidden agenda? CFR propaganda now overwhelmingly influences globalist policy. The CFR is the contemporaneous epicenter for the World Political Union. The CFR came about from a secretive meeting held during World War I. President Wilson formed a group, the Inquiry, to plan post-war solutions that were globalist in nature and centered on the removal of national and economic barriers and opening and up free trade. After the close of World War I, at the Paris peace negotiations, Wilson commissioned Edward House to organize a dinner party to broach the idea of forming an institute to guide foreign policy. The Inquiry, the Fabian Society, and the Rhodes Round Table groups led by Lord Milner later formed the Institute of International Affairs in the United States and the Royal Institute of International Affairs in England. On July 21st, 1921, the American entity officially changed its name to the Council on Foreign Relations, complete with a building donated for their cause by the Pratt family of Rockefeller Standard Oil. The founding CFR president was John Davis, personal attorney for J.P. Morgan. Okay, that tells you a lot right there. The vice president, Paul Cravat, was an attorney representing Morgan Properties. CFR funding derived from a clan of bankers consisting of J.D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Bernard Baruch, Jacob Schiff, Otto Kahn, and Paul Warburg. Today's funding derives mainly from the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Starr Foundation, Pew Charitable Trust, Ford Foundation, the German Marshall Fund, the McKnight Foundation, the Dillon Foundation, Xerox, GM, Texaco, Bristol Myers Squibb. These are all tax-exempt foundations funded by banks. David Rockefeller was intensely involved with the CFR, along with the Bilderbergers and the Trilateral Commission. The CFR is the source organization steering most other powerful globalist organizations. It publishes Foreign Affairs, the most prestigious journal read in foreign policy. Greer calls it the major policymaking institution of the American upper class. The CFR includes 2,670 fellows of the top leaders in government, business, education, labor, the military, media, and banking. The CFR has 38 affiliate organizations known together as Committees on Foreign Relations. Admiral Chester Ward, a former member of the CFR, warns the CFR's objective is to bring about the surrender of national sovereignty and natural independence of the United States. Some believe the CFR and trilateral organizations to be the current Rex Deus vehicle to bring about world government. So keep your eyes on the CFR and who's on it. Noteworthy individuals that have dominated past American governments have been on this committee. The Clinton administration included more than 100 members from the CFR from the outset and appointed as many CFR members as ambassadors as they possibly could. Clinton was believed selected by secret societies, according to Mars, as a nominee to run for the presidency. Clinton also has membership in both the CFR and the Trilateral Commission. In the 2000 presidential election, both Gore and Bush had strong family ties to the CFR through their respective fathers, and Gore is a CFR member. The Bush administration was well represented with CFR fellows judging from his cabinet, just as the CFR controlled Obama's globalist-bent government. W. Bush took much of his advice from his father, who served on the CFR, as did Vice President Richard Cheney and Secretary of the State Colin Powell. The Trilateral Commission specializes in promoting world government through encouraging economic interdependence among the superpowers. It is a derivative of the CFR that began with the CFR's and the Bilderbergers' blessing at the Rockefeller Estate in Tarrytown, New York, July 23, 1972. The commission was formed by Rockefeller, along with Henry Kissinger and Carter's future national security advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and it grew its inspiration from Brzezinski's book Between Two Ages. Carter, according to Sylvia Browne, was an unknown governor until the Trilateral Commission funded and popularized him, ensuring that Carter would become president. The CFR usually leads this organization. Members must, however, derive from the three economic superpowers, North America, Europe, and Japan, to foster better cooperation. Okay, and if you guys remember when I was teaching a couple months ago, I gave a little side note about the relationship between JFK and Carter, and if you just compare the two of them, you can look this up online. They're the same person. They even have the same wife. Okay, so if you want to look up that and go down that rabbit trail, JFK, also known as Carter. Okay. All right, the CFR is the source organization steering most other powerful globalist organizations. It publishes Foreign Affairs, the most prestigious journal read in foreign policy. Greer calls it the major policymaking institution of the American upper class. The CFR includes 2,670 fellows of the top leaders in government, business, education, labor, the military, media, and banking. The CFR has 38 affiliate organizations known together as Committees on Foreign Relations. All right. So, according to CA, the Trilateral Commission believes in a global government, a global monetary system, and a global tax policy. It stands for global socialism built upon those who have subsidized these tenets. Expect that Western nations in the future will be enslaved to support have-not nations of the world. The Bilderberger Organization of Europe is yet another highly influential group of intrigue that is sponsored by the banks, the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers, along with other globalist forces. Some powerful Masons consider the Bilderbergers to be the most clandestine and sinister secret society of all. It consists of approximately 100 of the power elite from the NATO countries, maintaining its leadership from among CFR members. It was initially funded by National City Bank, the Morgan Trust, Standard Oil, Ford, and DuPont. In 1937, Prince Bernhard married Princess Juliane of the Netherlands, becoming a major shareholder in Shell, along with Lord Victor Rothschild. The Bilderbergers were founded in 1954 by Prince Bernhard at the urging of Lord Rothschild to bring together the world's most powerful figures once a year to meet on an agenda that is always kept secret. The tax-exempt Rockefeller and Ford foundations, in turn, fund this clandestine enclave of potentates. Bilderbergers are nothing more than unofficial CFR expanded for international scale. The European Economic Community and its political confederation is the upshot of a well-planned plot by Bilderberger efforts. So here we are going to talk about the Bilderberger Foundation, another secret society. It was incorporated to bring about the union of all European nations into one economic, geopolitical, and militaristic entity. Their cause, according to Marr, just as it is the CFR's cause, is to bring about world government under the same model. Many of the Bilderbergers' members include or have included the who's who of European royalty and the world's elite. So these Bilderberger guys, these are going to be the ones trying to entreat the Messiah, trying to give him gold and silver and all kinds of wealth and everything if he'll just forgive them. It's going to be kind of crazy to watch this in the last days. Okay, so here's some of the names. Nelson Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, Cyrus Vance, Donald Rumsfeld, Gerald Ford, Helmut Schmidt, Giscard d'Estaing, Edmund de Rothschild, Prince Bernhard, Henry Grunwald of Time magazine, and Henry Heinz of the Heinz Company. Heinz Ketchup Company. More recent attendees to these meetings have been George Bush Sr. and Jr., Clinton, Margaret Thatcher, that's an interesting one, John Major, Tony Blair, Bill Gates, David Rockefeller, Conrad Black, and Steven Spielberg. It's interesting how much it's intertwined with the media. We must include into the mix of the elitist globalist organizations the renowned and infamous Club of Rome, formed in 1968. This organization contains less than 100 members, whom all are CFR members. You see how their secret societies overlap there? The Club of Rome is alleged by some to report to the little-known Snake Committee of 300. It claims to understand the problematic of how the world will survive pollution, war, industrial development, overpopulation, and similar problems. They claim to hold the keys to world peace and global prosperity through world government. In 1973, the Club of Rome commissioned a report that was complete with contrived and anticipated apocalyptic problems and offered corresponding and supposedly ingenious resolution models for contrived future peak oil, population explosions, and the ever-popular global warming disasters. This organization's stealthy purpose is to oversee the regionalization and then the unification of the entire world. One world government, saying right there, which is deviously divided into 10 political and economic regions. One last secret organization of intrigue that demands notation is the ultra-secretive order that George Bush Sr. belongs to, called the Skull and Bones. You guys have probably all heard of this one. This is a secret, not so secret, fraternal order that only operates at Yale University. As per Mars, its graduating members make up the cloak and dagger inner circle within the CFR that controls it. Mars notes researchers point out the order has been called the stepping stone to the CFR, Bilderbergers, and trilateral organizations. The emblem advertising the Skull and Bones is the crest for the Illuminati, while its insignia is the flag of the Knights Templar. Members are called Knights, fashioned after the Knights Templar. William Huntington Russell and Alfonso Taft, the father of William Howard Taft, imported the order out of Germany in 1832. So here's some of the names of the secret society. This is the secret society within the secret society. Henry Stimson, Averell Harriman, Henry Luce, J. Richardson Dilworth, Lowe, Taft, Forbes, Coleridge, and Delano. The Skull and Bones was a political recruiting agency that centered on the Harriman, Whitney, Vanderbilt, Lord, Taft, Bundy, Rockefeller, Perkins, Stimson, Weyerhaeuser, Gilma, Wadsworth, Payne, Davidson, Pillsbury, Sloan, Phillips, and Brown families. If you recognize some of those as being like huge companies, that's why, because they're funded by this order.
Delano,
I know. And cities, there's major, or not major, but there's quite a few cities in the U.S. named after a bunch of these people, including Delano. Okay, only 15 members per year are initiated, limiting total active membership to 500 or 600 at a time. Or all our political dynamos and corporate juggernauts, being Skull and Bones equates to socializing with the world's elite. With explicit emphasis on their family heritage and bloodlines, they arrange marriages to protect and advance their genetic pseudo-blue bloods. So you understand that. They arrange these marriages among the elite, and that is because of their genetic pseudo-blue bloods. If that makes any sense. They want to keep the bloodlines all together in one creepy family, so that's why they arrange their marriages.
So, what is the name of one of the biggest cop shows out there?
Biggest cop shows out there. Oh, the Blue Bloods.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
What we must understand is that these spurious forces are indeed at work in all national governments, all levels of the world, including the UN, which is one of the most successful globalist offshoots. Okay, so here's a list of prominent American presidents and candidates along with their globalist connections as a testimony to this conspiracy. So this is not a conspiracy. There's actual lists of people out there. So there's Roosevelt, Truman, Kennedy. These are all the ones that were involved with one of the secret societies I just described. Johnson, Nixon. So I think it's basically all of them, but these are the ones on that list. Reagan, Carter, Bush, Adlai Stevenson, Goldwater, McGovern, Dukakis, Bush Jr., Kerry. And then the following additional presidents were all Masons. George Washington, James Buchanan, James Garfield, Warren Harding, Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, William McKinley, James Monroe, James Polk, and Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, so if you follow me and social media, or if you have seen any of research about the gender agenda, it's already been going on among our presidents. I talked about this a little bit maybe 4 or 5 months ago when I was presenting on this one, but they're Satanists, that's how they roll. The super high level Satanists, they are inverted genders, and it's usually a secret thing. Although a lot of them are coming out and telling us right now. I'm going to read one more paragraph. The founding of geopolitical economic organizations with pyramids of money is one aspect of globalism, but we ought not to forget the second pillar of influence, or think tanks. It should come as no surprise that the Rockefeller Foundations are the sources for these North America think tanks, and they fund them to be propaganda divisions. The primary goals of these think tanks are to influence and manipulate education and public opinion through producing studies and reports that promote the globalist ideals. They further include a secondary sinister objective, the degradation of Christian credibility. And we say that not Christian the denomination, but the way of life, the followers of the Most High God. According to Ka, think tanks are neither concerned with truth or fact, only their political ambitions to promote globalism in the face of their enemy, Christianity, is all important. Ka states the findings of these think tanks are usually concocted and unsupported theories of deception that the media then quotes as facts for the persuasion of public opinion. Education systems print these deceptions as facts in textbooks to diabolically deceive the young, preparing naive minds for world union. These conclusions are not the harsh delusions of a paranoid conspirator. The facts are available for all to peruse. Remember, the threefold strategy for world government is being waged through Masonry, education, and infiltrating the Christian church, or churches that teach about the Most High God. Rex Deus stable agents inspire these covert operations. Documented sedition by Rex Deus is to impose unproven scientific theory through the schools as fact, and then to employ the press to maliciously brainwash the masses, skillfully backing up the lies. Rex Deus points to its two greatest achievements as Darwinism and Marxism, likely followed by socialism, Nazism, and the upstart global warming and the overpopulation deceptions. Okay, and that's all I'm going to read from Gary Wayne. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and do prayer requests and answer any questions if there's been any. So we'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm going to get the prayer requests book from Kaylee whenever she's ready to pass it to me. She's been taking down your prayer requests. Thank you guys so much for submitting those. I'll give a little bit of an update on our friend Ginger, who's been staying here at our house and healing. Thank you. And yeah, if you go look at my Facebook page for Lisa Sim George, I've been putting weekly updates on Ginger so you guys can see how much the swelling has decreased now. It's so exciting that she's able to turn her head. She's not in as much pain. It's gone down, I think, to about half of what it was when she got here. To me, it looks just really flat, and it's not as painful. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your prayers and for helping to support Ginger's relocation. Her relocation fund. If you would like to go and donate to help Ginger out, since she was her house had a fire up in Alaska, she lost everything. So many of you guys have helped her out so much. Thank you so much, you guys, for doing that. You can go to endeavorfreedom.net and then just earmark it for Ginger if you'd like to make a donation to help her out. So we're just really grateful that the Most High is healing her. That's the main thing. For you guys that are prayer warriors, have been praying for her, thank you guys so much. It's nice to see her getting out and around. She's more and more active every day. So getting out in the sun, it's nice to have it warm here. This is a photo. This is Aldion. Here, I'm going to turn it this way so you guys can see. Aldion had us look up this picture. This is like I can't even remember what it was called. Something Boston.
Embrace Boston.
Embrace Boston. This is a new sculpture that just looks kind of creepy. I wasn't sure what it was when I first saw it. It looks just like somebody hugging something and covering their head. I can't tell what it is. But there you can see down there on the bottom. It looks like from far away. So thank you for sharing this new sculpture, Aldion. Another new creepy sculpture to add to my list.
Yeah, I wish it had never been made, but what can I do?
I know, right? There's some winners coming up, not to mention all the Baphomet ones that are going inside different capitals across the nation. But yeah, thank you so much for showing us that, Aldion. How are you doing, Aldion, by the way? We were asking to see it. How's your health doing? Luis, it's good to see you guys back here. How are you guys
I'm
feeling?
very cool. Thank you for asking.
Very cold.
Very cold.
As am I, apparently.
Okay. Is Luis still on there?
Yeah.
Luis, how you
Yeah,
been
I'm
feeling?
here. Thank you. Everything's getting better. Thank you.
Good, good. That's good to hear. We've had some prayer requests for Clark's granddaughter. Thank you again for all of you guys that have been praying for her. We talked about this a little bit in Digital Readers Club, but Clark's granddaughter, Mariah, she's having miracle after miracle happening in her healing too. And we thank you so much, Clark, for sending us updates, for praying for her all the time. Whenever I think of her, I say a prayer for that little girl. So for those of you who weren't here last time to hear what was going on with Clark's granddaughter, just keep her in your prayers. She's not quite out of the dark yet as far as some issues going on with her little body, but she's a newborn, and I believe that the Most High is going to fully heal her. And we'll continue to pray for Clark's sister as well. And Zen asked for prayers for their family, or actually Justin asked for prayers for their family. They're all kind of recovering from some type of a flu or just feeling gross. So Zen didn't read with us today, but we're praying for you, Zen, if you're watching this. And Justin, Joy, Eliana, Ezra, thank you guys so much for always supporting our ministry here. Looks like we have a prayer request from Terry Todd. She's having surgery on her thumb. Wow. Okay, you're going to know on Monday. So you'll know, will she know what day she's having surgery for her thumb? Probably, maybe, you can text me, Terry, so we can keep praying for you for the day that you're going to have that surgery. So this is for, I think, maybe your trigger finger. She's been having some issues with that. Okay, and then Christy Frost, we're praying for you, girl. You've been ill, and we need to pray for our health and for income, and for the Most High supplies all of our needs according to His riches and glory. And for Tammy George, she's taking care of an elderly gentleman. Most of us know this already. And just so that she has strength to continue caring for him every day. I know every day is a major struggle in trying to convey to him. He's suffering from some other things going on too. So, he is I think he's like 99. He's 99, right, Tammy? But yeah, we'll be praying for Pops. I think you call him Pops. So if you guys can adopt these prayer requests, that would be awesome. Thank you again to Kaylee for taking notes over here. I hope if we missed any of you, you're always welcome to send me an email at Biblical Hebrew Hawaii during the week. Zen and Justin and Joy had their shows on hold this past week. I noticed they didn't have anything until Digital Readers Club. So
Is it at Yahoo or Gmail?
at Gmail.
Okay.
Yeah. BiblicalHebrewHawaii@gmail.com. All right. Any last minute comments? Anything from anyone on Discord? It's good to have all you guys joining us today. Noble says to say hi to all of you guys. He couldn't be here to teach today, so I kind of took over for him, but he should be back next week. And we'll keep everyone in prayer, all your prayer requests. So let's pray together. We can close it up. Dear Abba, we thank you so much for giving us this chance to do ministry together as a family, as an extended Ohana. For everyone who's joined us today, we just ask blessings on all of those, and that you give people the courage to share about you, Abba God, throughout the week, and just to be an excellent witness for Yeshua, for the Messiah, as he's just given us a chance to have grace and mercy when Judgment Day comes. We thank and praise you so much for doing that for us, and we just give you all the praise and all the glory. Please cover all of these prayer requests that we've talked about today, and please heal those who are not feeling well. Please comfort those who are sad, and please keep us all focused on your kingdom that's coming, Father God. We ask all this in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week, and a big shaloha from all of us here. Yeah, what was that? Oh, Noble's out today. He is doing a demo job in our neighbor's kitchen that has to be done really fast. because they're going on vacation. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. But he should be here Tuesday. We'll have Stop the Pain on Tuesday, and then, Yah willing, we'll see all you guys for Hebrew class next week, Saturday.
I'm not gonna be
Alrighty?
here.
What?
I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, you're not going to be here next week?
I'm being on Big Island.
Oh, I thought that was 2 weeks from now.
No, it's next week.
Next week. Okay, okay. Isaac just reminded me of something. No. If Isaac
Blame Kaylee.
is
It's Kaylee's fault.
here, both of you guys come up here.
Oh.
You guys can see who's behind the scenes over here. They're so cute. We could do an Ask Me Anything with Isaac and
I got
Kaylee.
new bangs though. I'm kind of shy.
Kaylee got new
She
bangs.
banging.
Here's Kaylee. Here's Isaac. Here's our crew.
Here, sit down.
I'm just gonna.
No, come back. Scoot over. Sit down.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
So there you guys can see who's been filming with me today. Thank you so much to these guys. We all plan to be at the conference, so make sure everyone registers for the conference. Kaylee got her ticket.
Yay!
Isaac got his ticket. I got my ticket. So we get to see all of you guys in person. That would be awesome. All right? So have a wonderful week. Big shaloha from all of us.
Bye.
Bye, thank
It's gonna
you.
take another
Shalom.
5 seconds because I need to go end this stream.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right.